Hey, welcome to the Full Octane Garage. Today we're going to solve a problem on our 63 Corvette split window resto mod project. The chassis that we acquired actually has a Camaro ZL1 rear end in it. And with the Camaro ZL1 rear end in it, we noticed that the rear differential yoke coming out is not a standard U-joint. If you look, it has 3 bolts and this big nub sticking out. And we are told that there's a special Gibo joint or something of that nature that's unique to the Camaros. So now what we have to do is get it converted to a standard U-joint. And a standard U-joint in this particular scenario has 4 bolts. That one has 3 bolts. So we searched the old interweb and we found a solution. So we're going to go over and talk about it right now. Okay, now that you've seen the problem we're facing, we have found a solution. And we went to a website called the Driveshaftshop.com. And Driveshaftshop.com sells an adapter to get from a ZL1 3-bolt rear end to a 4-bolt U-joint connection. And this adapter is made out of billet aluminum. You'll see that it has 3 large holes to go into the ZL1 rear end, and they send a 14 millimeter bolt which takes a 12 millimeter Allen head wrench. So I went to handy Mr. Amazon and I got a 3-socket set that has a 12, 14, and I believe a 17 millimeter Allen head adapters. These cost about $11 delivered to my door. I got them in 2 days. So now I'm going to be able to put this on a 1/2-inch torque wrench and torque them to spec. They recommend that you put some Loctite on this, on these 3 bolts, and torque them to spec, which comes with the kit. And you'll notice that it comes with 4 tapped holes. And these 4 tapped holes are the exact dimensions of this connector, and in addition to the 4 tapped holes, it comes with 4 bolts that will go through and screw in. And again, they recommend blue Loctite and torque to spec on these. So let's get right to it. We're going to go over to the car. We're going to show you how to install this adapter. It's a very simple installation. I got this from the driveshaftshops.com. I also got this recommended adapter. I'll put part numbers down in the remarks with web links to buy these. And then I take the measurements from the face of this on the rear end to the rear yoke that goes in my 4L65E transmission. And I run down to my local drive shaft shop, and voila, I get a drive shaft. So my particular application called for, I believe, 27 3/4. They made the drive shaft to length. It's going to slide right in. I've painted it, got it good looking. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the car right now, or actually to the chassis. We're going to put this adapter plate on. We're going to torque it to spec. And then we're also going to install the drive shaft. And then at that point in time, we'll be ready for a body test fit to make sure that the drive shaft clears the tunnel with this custom chassis that we're doing. So stick with us and we'll be right to it. Okay, we're back at it. We have the adapter plate and we're going to mount it to the rear differential ZL1 rear end. I have already lubricated the bolts with Loctite, blue Loctite. And I have my torque wrench set to 89 pounds, so now we're going to install this. And again, we're using a 12 millimeter Allen head socket with a 1/2 inch drive. We're going to get these snugged in here. We're going to see also if as I torque these down, it's going to try to push my rear end along and push the chassis along, because I don't really have a brake set on this. But we're going to give it a shot. And it is trying to. Okay, got one. We'll snug the other two down. Okay. All right, we have all three snugged down to 89 pounds. Now we're going to actually install the drive shaft. What we did is put a little bit of lubricant on the outside of this drive shaft tube, and we are going to slide it into the rear yoke of the transmission. We may have to, since the transmission is in park. And then on the back side, what we're going to do is start putting the bolts in. We have pre-populated the bolts with Loctite and a lock washer. So we are going to start putting them in. And these bolts torque down to 78 foot-pounds with the blue Loctite on them. So we are going to go through and get each one of them installed and torqued down. I thread these in most of the way, one at a time. Alright, they're all torqued, drive shaft's installed, adapter's installed. It's looking really good. Now we got to adjust our drive shaft angles, and we'll call it a day.